Instead, Ukrainian authorities say workers digging through rubble found 200 bodies in Mariupol. It's another grim discovery in the ruined port city that's seen some of the worst suffering of the 3-month-old war. Ukraine's president is accusing Russia of waging total war, seeking to inflict much death and destruction as possible on the country. Volodymyr Zelensky's comments were translated by Al Jazeera.
They created a bloodbath and are trying to destroy everything. Everything alive, literally. No one's destroyed Donbass in the way that the Russian troops are doing now. I'm grateful to everyone, all our warriors who hold positions and have the bravery to counterattack. The coming weeks of the war will be hard, and we need to understand this. But we've no other alternative than to fight and to win, to liberate our land and our people.
Intense fighting raged today in the eastern Donbass. The region is now the Kremlin's focus after its forces failed to overrun Kiev in the early weeks of the war and were forced to withdraw and pursue a limited objective. Ukraine's top prosecutor, Irina Venediktova, says her office is investigating 13,000 cases against Russian soldiers accused of war crimes. Speaking to the Washington Post Monday, she vowed to prosecute every single one of them.
I think that it's good possibility for Russian soldiers, for Russian commanders to understand that if they decided to do such atrocities, to kill, to rape, to loot, to torture, we will find everyone early or later, but we will identify all of yours. We start to prosecute, and you will be responsible for all your atrocities.
Her words come as the first successful prosecution of a Russian soldier who was sentenced to life in prison for shooting a 62-year-old civilian in the head. The 21-year-old soldier said he was following orders from his superior. Government and corporate leaders have gathered for the World Economic Forum. The war in Ukraine is taking center stage. U.S. climate envoy John Kerry says Russia's war shouldn't deter climate goals.
We should not allow a false narrative to be created that what has happened in Ukraine somehow obviates the need to continue forward and to accelerate even what we're trying to do to address the crisis of the climate.
European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says Russia's war in Ukraine is pushing the EU to transition from fossil fuels. Russia makes up about a quarter of Europe's oil and gas production.
But this war and this behavior we see has only strengthened Europe's resolve to get rid of Russian fossil fuel dependency rapidly. The climate cannot wait. But now, the geopolitical reasons are evident too. We have to diversify away from fossil fuels. We have set our course already towards climate neutrality. So now we must accelerate our clean energy transition.
Von der Leyen says they're also working to ensure a resilience of supply chains for natural gas with other nations in the Middle East and North Africa. Energy experts argue viable alternatives are already in place, noting the cost of wind and solar have come down considerably in recent decades, while efficiencies have dramatically increased. Newer technologies still need massive investments for a just transition. President Joe Biden has warned fellow leaders of the informal Indo-Pacific Security Coalition, known as the Quad, they're navigating through a dark hour. His warning comes as Russia continues a brutal war in Ukraine. Biden called for greater Indo-Pacific leadership in the effort to stop that war at the start of a summit today with leaders of Australia, India, and Japan. Biden did not directly call out any specific nations, but his message appeared to be a nudge to India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with whom differences persist over how to respond to Russia. Primary elections are being held today in 5 U.S. states, including in Texas, where one of the last remaining anti-abortion Democrats faces the political fight of his life. Progressive Jessica Cisneros is challenging Henry Cuellar's seat in the House. And in Northwest Georgia, far-right Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is expected to win re-election. The focus is also on Georgia, where two Republicans are vying for the state's governor's race. One is backed by former President Donald Trump. The other, Brian Kemp, is getting the support from former President Trump's Vice President, Mike Pence. David Perdue, who Trump is backing, is also continuing the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen. I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.